The Catholic Church has been rocked by scandals ranging from the dissolution of the Knights Templar to Galileo's trial throughout its long history. Although the Church has done many great things, many scandals have emerged, especially over the 20th century, despite the Church's best efforts to keep them hidden. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and in this episode I'll be sharing some dark secrets of the Catholic Church that they don't want you to know about. So stick around till the end so you don't miss any of these. Starting off at number 10, we have the Duplessis Orphan, a conservative revolution in Quebec, Canada in the 1930s and 40s ushered in an era known as the Great Darkness. Now, the period led by Premier Maurice Duplessis was marked by unprecedented corruption and repression, much of which involved the Catholic Church. At that time, mental hospitals received more subsidies than orphanages. Now, the Duplessis government, with its collaboration with the Catholic Church, began to diagnose children with mental instability. And as a result of these false diagnoses, the children of the orphanage were sent to mental hospitals. In some cases, after the children were declared mentally unstable, orphanages were emptied and converted into insane asylums so that the Catholic Church could profit more from the subsidies. Approximately 20,000 children were wrongfully diagnosed and imprisoned in this manner. Now, moving on to number 9, let's look at home children. Approximately 150,000 British home children were sent to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Rhodesia during the 19th and 20th centuries. The children that were shipped were called Good White Stock, and different groups used this scheme to increase their followers at a particular place by shipping children to that area. Now, the Catholic Church sent at least 1,000 British and 310 Maltese children to Catholic schools in Australia between the late 1930s and the early 1960s. And later, many of them were forced to do construction work as well as other physically exhausting labor. Number 8 is also another secret involving stealing children. Beginning in the 1930s, Francisco Franco's fascist regime sought to purify Spain by stealing the children of undesirable parents and raising them in more politically acceptable environments. Now, this scheme of stealing babies was carried out with the cooperation of the Catholic Church over in Spain. Now, this scheme was carried out with the help of nurses when they take the baby for medical checkups and return with a lifeless body. They would convince the mother that their child had suddenly, just lost their lives. But in actuality, the babies were stolen and then they were sold in illegal profit-making adoptions. Let's look at the return of Jewish children at number 7. During World War II, the Catholic Church took steps to save Jews from the Nazis, and many Jewish children entered Catholic schools after that. And when the war ended, the Catholic Church issued a directive in which it stated that the children will not be returned. The document, which claimed to have been approved by the Holy Father, stated unequivocally, baptized children must not be entrusted to institutions that are unable to guarantee their Christian upbringing. So in this way, many children, they lost their families, completely lost their identity as well. Coming in at the number 6 spot is the gold in the Vatican Bank. According to a U.S. Treasury report by Emerson Bigelow, the Catholic Church has smuggled Nazi gold through Vatican Bank. Bigelow's letter also mentioned that gold was funneled through the Vatican pipeline to Spain and to South America, where it was used to help Nazis escape punishment. Yeah. And the letter containing this information was made public in the year 1997 after the US government declassified it the previous year. Now, the spokesperson for the Vatican Bank denied the allegations completely, but hey, the Catholic Church is still being sued for alleged Nazi gold laundering. And at the number 5 spot, the alliance with fascism. Benito Mussolini and his National Fascist Party took power in the year 1922, eventually abolishing democracy and establishing a brutal dictatorship in the Vatican. The treaty signed in the year 1929, the Lateran Treaty by Mussolini and the Catholic Church, granted the Catholic Church the status of a sovereign state within Italy. Mussolini paid the church a large sum of money also, and the money was then used by the church to build a very lucrative international investment portfolio, which is estimated to be worth billions now. Now, the church was also given exemption from tax, and Catholic priests were promised a salary. Catholicism was also made Italy's state religion. Number 4 is one of the most talked about secrets of the Catholic Church, very controversial. The Catholic Church has been facing the issue of misconduct towards children for a very long time. The church has tried its best to cover up the issue and protect its priests. In the year 2002, Catholic priests were exposed for their horrifying behavior towards children. Father John Giogon, one of the convicted priests, was accused of committing very inappropriate acts to about 130 boys before being caught. And between the years 1950 and 1974, Catholic priests named Lawrence Murphy did the unthinkable to 200 deaf and disabled boys at a church-run school in Wisconsin in the United States. There are many more stories like this that can be heard. But we'll move on to number 3, and this leads us to the Magdalene Asylum. The Catholic Church imprisoned women suspected of promiscuity in the church-run institutions known as Magdalene Asylum. Based on their ultra-conservative views on intimate acts, women were taken and thrown in there. Now, initially, women were committed to the asylums to receive treatment for alleged sinfulness. And many of the women were admitted to the asylums by their own families. So they weren't just taken out by church leaders and shoved in these asylums. No, their families pushed them in. But either way, these women were forced to do very rigorous labor in these asylums, and they were often beaten, and acts that they were accused of committing, well, that was done to them. So yeah, they were really taken advantage of. Number 2 leads us to the rat lines. After the end of World War II, many Nazis, they tried to flee Europe, and they received help from senior Catholic clergymen. The church allowed a bishop named Alois Hudal to visit Nazi prisoners for religious purposes. Now, Hudal, on the other hand, helped these criminals to fly away. Hudal helped them by setting up escape routes for them called rat lines. He took advantage of his position in the Catholic Church hierarchy and got travel documents from the Vatican Refugee Organization. Several were given Vatican state passports, allowing them to disguise themselves as priests and escape. And we end this episode off with a very unfortunate event, the Croatian disaster. Now, concentration camps in Yugoslavia were run by some Catholic priests. In the year 1941, a fascist government was formed in Yugoslavia, which was called the Independent State of Croatia. The government was run by the Ustashi, and ultra-conservative Catholicism and racism defined the Ustashi. Later, the Ustashi leader suggested getting rid of 1/3, expelling another third, and assimilating the remaining third. So these twisted ambitions were turned into reality when concentration camps were set up and around 800,000 people's lives were taken. This is also not contained within the camps. The Ustashi would arrive in villages armed with hatchets and other sharp objects to carry out their plan. Now, that brings us to the end of this episode. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Definitely not one of the more exciting topics to discuss, but either way, here on FTD Facts, we love to explore the various different cultures and religions and spiritual ideologies of our world. So if you did make it this far, don't forget to leave a like. It really does help. And also, if this is your first time here to the channel, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell. That way you won't miss when we post a new episode. So stick around, guys. Join the FTD Facts family, and I'll see you soon.